what we're going to cover today is when it comes to Chabad. Everybody knows that Chabad requires a person to become a Beinoni. But on the other hand, after you learn what a Beinoni is, it's a question. You really want me to become a Beinoni? What is it, a game? We're playing game. You're saying that I'm a Beinoni, and then you're telling me a Beinoni is a very high level, and then the Rebbe says, yeah, you can become a Beinoni. And we know by Chabad, we don't say lies. We don't tell a person you can become something when you really can't become something. And over here it looks like, how many Beinonim do you know? No one is a Beinoni. I don't know anybody who's a Beinoni, never met one, probably never will meet one. Yeah, I mean, I met a tzaddik, but a Beinoni I never met. So let's look inside. To how do we deal with this whole concept? Are we supposed to become a Beinoni? No, we're going to discuss it over here, the whole thing. Okay. We're going to have the whole thing.
Know that he's going to discuss it.
So let's start with source number 1. It says like this. Delechol ish Israel, every Jew, echad tzaddik veechad rasha, whether he's a tzaddik, whether he's a rasha, yesh shtei neshamot. Every Jew has 2 souls. How do we know? Kedichtiv, it's written, uneshamot ani asiti. That God says, I made souls. It doesn't only refer that he made many souls, it also refers that he made Adam with 2 souls. Or he made every person with 2 souls. Shehem shtei nefashot, that there are 2 souls. Nefesh echad mitzad haklipa vesitra achra. The one soul calls it from the klipa and sitra achra. A lot of people think that this nefesh that we're talking about, nefesh ha'ba'amit, is a bad nefesh. It's evil. The answer, it's not evil. All the nefesh ha'ba'amit is, its job is to take care of the organism. When you're hungry, it tells you you're hungry. When it's thirsty, it tells you you're thirsty.
Keeps you alive.
Keeps you alive. The job of the soul is to make sure the organism continues. But let's discuss exactly. The job of the soul is to make you think about whom?
About yourself.
About yourself. That's its job. Only about yourself. Sometimes you be kind because it's good for you. It's everything about yourself. The whole job of this soul is to take care of yourself. This is the main soul. It gets dressed in the blood. It enlivens the body. ונפש השנית בישראל היא חלק אלוקה ממעל ממש. The second soul by a Jew is a part of God above. And like we said in the beginning, what's the difference between them? The animal soul only thinks about itself. And the godly soul only thinks about God. It's really like this. The godly soul has no other thoughts. It's what God wants. That's right.
In a way.
That's right. But then we're going through life, and this one is thinking constantly about God, and this one is thinking constantly about itself. And these 2 forces inside the person all the time are talking, all the time are telling him to do stuff. So the question is, what's going to happen? Who's going to win? The animal soul is going to tell him to think about himself, or the godly soul is going to tell him to think about God? That's the constant battle within the Jew. So let's look inside. In source number 2, Ach hine ktiv, but behold, it is written, Uleum meleum ye'amatz, and one nation from another nation will become stronger. This is when Rivka is worried about her pregnancy. She goes to the Shem, the prophet, and Shem tells her, Rivka, don't worry, you have 2 sons, and you should know that when one son goes up, the other one comes down, and the other son goes up, this one comes down. So the same thing over here. Who's going to control? The more times the godly soul is in control, the weaker and weaker becomes the animal soul. The more times the animal soul is in control, the weaker and weaker becomes godly soul. So a person doesn't need to be a sinner in order for his godly soul not to talk to him. You don't need to become a sinner. You know, all what you need to do is You need to sleep. You need to eat. You need to take care of yourself. The more times you you never sinned. A person never sinned in his life. But the more times he takes care of himself, the animal soul becomes greater and greater, and the godly soul has less and less effect. That's the way it works. In other words, the older you are, the harder it's going to become. Very good, because you ate more. כי הגוף נקרא עיר קטנה.
Because you ate more.
You ate more times. You used the animal soul more times.
You ate more.
Yeah, there's many more times. You went to sleep more times. The more you exercised it, the stronger it becomes.
Push it away.
That's right. כי הגוף נקרא עיר קטנה. The body is called a small city. And you've got two kings who are trying to control it. You have the animal soul trying to control your body, and you have the godly soul who's trying to control your body. וכמו ששני מלכים נלחמים על עיר אחת, just like two kings are trying to conquer one city, שכל אחד רוצה לכבשה ולמלוך עליה. The animal soul wants to tell the body, I'll tell you what to do so that you'll survive. And the godly soul tells the body, I'll tell you what to do so that we'll be happy. And that's the war. They're in a constant war with one with another. Who is going to win? Dehainu, what is the animal soul and the godly soul trying to do? Lehanhig yoshvea, to make sure that all its citizens, kirtzono, are going to do the will of the king. שיהיו שרים למשמעתו בכל אשר יגזור עליהם. That they're going to listen to the king in everything that they will ask. In other words, the animal soul is not happy until the body is going to do exactly what he says. And the godly soul is not happy until the body is going to do what it says. So in the constant battle, who's going to tell your body what to do? כך, שתי הנפשות האלוקית והחיונית, so are the two souls, the godly soul and the animal soul, הבהמית שמהקליפה, that the animal soul that comes from the bad side, נלחמות זו עם זו על הגוף וכל עבריו. So in a constant battle, each one wants to control the body and to tell the body what to do. שהאלוקית חפצה ורצונה שהיא תהי היא לבד או מושלת אליו ומנגיתו. The godly soul wants the only one to control the body. Up to here. Okay? And the behemit wants to control the body also.
Each one wants to do
That's right.
the controlling.
Each one wants to rule, to be the boss. So now, let's understand, before we even continue, what's a tzaddik? How does it work with the tzaddik? So a tzaddik works beautifully. How does it work? The animal soul doesn't want to make the body alive. He doesn't want. By a tzaddik, he doesn't have an animal soul, and the animal soul couldn't care if you live, and the animal soul couldn't care if you're alive. It doesn't exist. It's like, God forbid, somebody wakes up in the morning, somebody is born without a hand. He doesn't have a hand. This guy, this person, this tzaddik was born, and there's no animal soul. In other words, he doesn't want to be alive. So you ask, so why is he sleeping? Why is he eating? He's eating because God wants him to eat. Everything that he does because that's what God. If he's not going to eat, he's going to die. He's not going to be able to do commandments. And God is not going to be happy. So he has to eat to make God happy. But he's not eating because he wants to eat. He's eating because that's what God wants him to do. So a tzaddik is somebody who doesn't have an animal soul. In other words, there is no battle. This battle that he describes between two kings over the body doesn't happen over there. There's never a war. The godly soul all the time runs the show. Not only just runs the show, there's not even an opposing force. Nobody's running against him. Only one force. So that's what it's a tzaddik. So now we're going to understand, before that, we need to understand what's a Beinoni. So let's go look inside. V'Beinoni hu. So what's a Beinoni? So we say a Beinoni is a person who's not a tzaddik, which means there's two kings, and they're fighting. And the two kings are fighting all the time. They're fighting. Who's going to run the body? So the Beinoni hu שלעולם אין הרע גובר כל כך לכבוש את העיר קטנה, that the bad, the animal soul is not strong enough to conquer the small city, להתלבש בגוף ולהחטיאו. A Benoni is someone who never sinned. In other words, every time there's a battle, his body tells him, you have to survive. God tells him, you have to do the right thing. I don't care if you survive or not. Sometimes they're the same, but in the places they're different. The godly soul always wins. That's a Benoni. A Benoni is someone who always wins. He never sins. He never ever sins. דהיינו, what does that mean? ששלושת לבושי נפש הבהמית, that the three garments of the animal soul, that what are they? The three garments. שהם מחשבה, דיבור ומעשה. They are thought, speech, and action. In other words, all the thoughts, all the speech, and all the actions always belong to whom? To God. Always. Always it does. Let's take one at a time. He wakes up in the morning, he doesn't feel like putting on tefillin. He's going to put on tefillin. Yeah, he's going to put on tefillin. Yeah. He instead of saying words of Torah, he wants to talk words of politics. But he just wants to. He never says words of politics. He always says words of Torah. And even when it comes to machshava, that it says machshava we cannot control, it means thoughts, bad thoughts come into his mind, but he doesn't dwell on the bad thoughts. As soon as the bad thoughts come into his mind, he exchanges it for a good thought. He says, I'm not supposed to be thinking about that. Let me think about something that I'm supposed to be thinking about. And he immediately pushes it away. And it comes again and he immediately pushes it away. In other words, he never fails in any of the things, not in thought, not in speech, not in action. שמצד הקליפה אין גוברים בו על הנפש האלוקית להתלבש בגוף, במוח ובפה ובשאר המח איברים להחטיאם לטמאם חס ושלום. He never sins, he never goes against God, ever, ever, ever. And here comes the problem. So what's a Benoni? So a Benoni is a person, ולא עבר עבירה מימיו. He never sinned in his life. Now the question is, so if I've sinned, I cannot become a Benoni? So the answer is yes, I can still become a Benoni. So why does it say, ולא עבר עבירה מימיו, and he never transgressed the sin in his life? It means on the level you are now, if I would have put you on the test that you were before, you would never have done it. So let's take an example. A person who might have went in the wrong side of life when he was a kid, he didn't know better, and he used to take drugs, and he used to rob people, and he used to mug people. He grew up, he understood that was the completely wrong thing that he did. He didn't behave the right way, he completely changed his life. Now he's helping the community there. So you ask him, you, right now, can you see yourself ever mugging a person right now? You can see, the person who mugged the person before, he says, that wasn't me. The me you see right now is not capable of mugging people. I can't. It's the other guy who did it. The way I am right now, it's never going to happen. For example, there are many things that we are a Benoni. If I'm going to ask you, if I'm going to ask any person who's a normal person, do you see yourself kill somebody because you need money? Because you want his money? Not for luxury. Not because you're starving. Can you see yourself kill somebody because of that? No, most people will tell you, I'm never going to do such a thing. Well, who behaves in such a manner? Yeah? Who behaves in such a manner? So if a person can say that, and that level is a Benoni, even though it's possible that he killed before, and it's possible that he will kill in the future. But right now, the way he is at this moment, he's not capable. So that's what it means. לא עבר עבירה מימיו, he never transgressed the sin in his life, ולא יעבור לעולם. And you see how it says, and he will never transgress as he is right now. That doesn't mean that he's not going to transgress in the future, he might. ולא נקרא עליו שם רשע אפילו שעה אחת ורגע אחד כל ימיו. But nevertheless, the way he's standing right now, he's not capable of doing anything. So a Beinani, the same as we are, right? If I'm going to tell you, can you see yourself eating a human being in your life? Can you see yourself? No. Yeah. So you're a Beinani when it comes to eating human beings. Yeah. If I ask you, can you see yourself missing mincha ever? So if you tell me yes, then you're a Rasha, you're not a Beinani when it comes to a Rasha. A Beinani, though, the difference between him and us, that he cannot see himself go against God in any Torah and mitzvahs, in everything. He can never see himself go against God, ever in anything. Even in what? Even he cannot see himself relaxing 2 seconds, when he's got like 20 seconds open time during his day, when he's not doing mitzvah, and he's not there, he cannot see himself wasting 19 seconds during the day not learning Torah. If he has open time, what does he do with it? Either he learns Torah or he does a mitzvah. Every time he doesn't do a mitzvah, what does he do? He learns Torah. You tell yourself, can you see yourself 5 seconds not learning Torah? Does he? No, I can't. In other words, do you want to waste time? A Beinani? You ask him. I want to. But am I going to? I can't see myself. I can't see myself. ואף על פי כן, nevertheless, אינו נקרא צדיק כלל. He is not called righteous at all. מפני, because, שיתרון הזה של לאור הנפש האלוקית על החושך וסכלות של הקליפה הנדחה ממילא, it says, why is not a tzaddik? Because he didn't change. The Beinani stayed a behema. He stayed an animal. What does it mean he stayed an animal? He wants to do all the bad stuffs. It's not like he doesn't want to do them. He wants to relax. He wants to take a break. He wants to be lazy. He wants not to serve God sometimes. He just never does. In other words, when does he serve God? How does he serve God? With his heart? Not necessarily. אינו אלא בשלושה לבושים הנזכרים לעיל. It's only in thought, speech and action that he is serving God. ולא במהותה ועצמותה על מהותה ועצמותה של הקליפה. But his godly soul didn't push away the animal soul like by a tzaddik where he doesn't talk anymore. A tzaddik, the animal soul doesn't even want anymore. By a Beinani, the animal soul continues to want to do the bad stuff. Up to him.
Should it be a Benoni? It could be a Benoni to turn into a tzaddik.
Very good. So it says the more, very good. So it says the more, theoretically it can be, that a person will train himself to such a high level degree
Or that he wouldn't want to do.
God is going to make a miracle and will turn him into a tzaddik. So your question was, can you turn yourself into a tzaddik? The answer is no. But if God sees that you do everything that you're doing, and you're putting all the forces, and he feels sorry for you, and he decides, you know what, 1 in a million, or 1 in 1,000, whatever it is, wins the lottery, and God says, you know what, go ahead. I'll give it to you. It's a present.
Yeah.
To become from a Beinani to a tzaddik, that's not up to you. Only God can take it, the evil inclination away from you, completely. But you can get to a level that you surround yourself in such an environment, in such people, with such deeds all day long, that the evil inclination will stay sleeping. That you can get to. A regular person can get to. That doesn't mean it's gone. It means it's there.
Right.
It's just not talking right now, it's sleeping. But in any second, it can reawaken. So that level you can get to. If you remember the story with Rabbi in the beginning of Tanya, this is what Rabbi thought that was his level. He thought, I didn't kill the evil inclination completely, so how come he doesn't talk to me? How come he doesn't suggest things to me? It's not because I really killed him and he's not there anymore. He's still there, He's just what? He's just sleeping. And you know why he's sleeping? Because what do I do all day long? You know what I do all day long? I learn Torah all day long. You know who I'm friends with? I'm friends with these guys all day long, all the sages. But if I'm going to go into the market, I'm going to start becoming a businessman, you know what's going to happen? It's going to reawaken. There's no guarantee that it's not there anymore. מהותה ועצמותה של נפש הבהמית שמהקליפה שבחלל השמאלי לא נדחה כלל ממקומו בבינוני. It says the evil inclination by the Beinoni is never removed completely. It's always there, and it's always going to remain there. In other words, in his entire life, he's going to do what? He's going to have this fight. Every day he will wake up in the morning, and he say to himself, I want to go back to sleep, and he will force himself to get out of bed. Every day he will want to talk nonsense, and he will stop himself, and he will not talk nonsense. Every day he will want to do something evil, and even as in Yetzer Tov, he says, no, I'm never going to do it. ואזי יכול להיות שכלות הכסיל הרע בהתגלות ליבו, בחלל השמאלי להתאבות תאווה לכל עיני גשמיות עולם הזה, בין בהיתר, בין באיסור חס ושלום. In other words, Beinoni always desires bad things. He always desires things that are not, he's not supposed to desire. He will desire more money, he will desire more women, he will desire more wine, he will desire more sleep, he will desire all the good things, more honor.
Turn them to action.
He will never act upon the desires, but he's always going to desire. The desires are there. And now comes the Alter Rebbe. And the Alter Rebbe tells you should know. He says, so in other words, Alter Rebbe says, I'm not asking you to be a tzaddik. Nobody's asking you to be a tzaddik. Do you know why nobody's asking you to be a tzaddik?
You can't.
You can't. That's right. You can't be a tzaddik. Only God can make you one. It's not up to you. If you can become a tzaddik and not become a tzaddik. So I'm not asking you to be a tzaddik. But what am I asking you? To become a Beinoni. Himidat kol adam. It says this is the level of every person. Ve'acharea kol adam yimshoch. And after this level, that should be the goal of every Jew. Shekol adam yachol liot Beinoni, because every man can be a Beinoni, bechol at every time, ubechol shah, and if every hour. And people ask me, like Moshe right now, Rabbi, come on, are you serious? And the answer is yes. You cannot tell me one test that God can do to you, can give you, that you cannot pass. What can't you do? Which mitzvah? Which mitzvah can't you fight against evil inclination? I didn't say it was easy, but which one can't you do?
No, you can do everything, basically, except Eretz Yisrael, שאתה לא יכול לעשות.
There are some things that are going to be extremely hard. You're right. We can do almost every commandment except one we can do.
Which one?
Learning Torah.
Oh.
Learning Torah, it's possible, but it means every time, it means we're going to be learning Torah, and then somebody's going to start talking, and say, okay, talked enough, let's continue to learn Torah. That's going to be a very hard one.
You have to be Torahto Manuto, גם שאתה
But that's right. That's right. But theoretically, so that's the only one that's going to be problematic. All the other commandments, not speak Lashon Hara. Impossible. Always daven. Always put on tefillin. When you want to tell somebody, to curse somebody, don't curse him. It's possible. You can do it. You're right, it's hard, but it's possible. Why? Why does the Alter Rebbe says that every person can do it? Because he says it's easy. I didn't ask you to change yourself. If I would ask you to love me, God says, you can come and says, God, this is too much. I don't love you. I love steak. I love Lamborghinis. I love women. I love wine. I don't love you. What do you want me to do? To lie to you? I can lie to you, tell you I love you, but I don't love you. But over here, you're not asking me to love you. What are you asking me? Just obey me. That's what you're asking. I didn't ask you to love, but I'll ask you to obey. To obey, if a king will tell you, you will do it. If I will tell you, do it. Easy. It's not that complicated. Ki ha-Beinoni eno mo'es berah. The Beinoni doesn't hate evil. I didn't ask you to hate evil. שזהו דבר המסור ללב, ולא כל העתים שוות. Because hating evil, this is something that belongs to the heart. And that I'm not commanding you. I'm not commanding you to love me. I'm commanding you to do. I didn't command you to put on tefillin and to feel like me and you are married. I commanded you to put on tefillin. So put on tefillin. Ela, so what did I commanded you? Sur mera ve'aseh tov. I told you do not steal, and I told you put on tefillin. That's all I asked you, and that you can do. דהיינו בפועל ממש, במעשה דיבור ומחשבה. When it comes to three things, thought, speech, and action, your thought, speech, and action should always obey me. That's all I ask. שבהם הבחירה והיכולת והרשות נתונה לכל אדם לעשות, לדבר ולחשוב גם מה שהוא נגד תאוות ליבו והפכה ממש. Over there you have the control. Every person has the control not to do what he wants, but to do what God wants. Mm-hmm. Every person can do it. You're right, it's not easy. Yeah. It's not hard either. It's not that hard. If King David will be here, you will do it? Yeah. Okay, so it's easy, so you can do it.
The Tsar in Russia will be here and you tell him
even if the Tsar will do it.
You're going to do
or
it.
Even sometimes if a friend would be next to you, you wouldn't do many of the things that you do. Yeah? Or even other people, strangers, are next to you, you don't behave like you want to behave. Okay. But now, you know, it sounds too easy. So now we're going to have a difficulty. In the beginning of Tanya, there's this verse, we're on page 6. Tanya, besof perek gimel de Nida. Tanya, in the end of the 3rd chapter of Nida, it says that before a neshama comes down to this world, what do we do with the neshama? It says, mashbi'im oto tehi tzadik ve'al tihi rasha. We give the neshama an oath. And what's the oath that the neshama gets? The oath that we give the neshama is be righteous and don't be evil. That's the oath that we give the neshama. And then we tell him, ואפילו כל העולם כולו אומרים לך צדיק אתה. And then it tells you, even if the entire world shouts at you, you're a righteous person. And when it says the entire world, this is like Rabbi. You also don't experience. A person had an evil inclination and he worked it against his evil inclination his entire life. And for the last 10 years he doesn't have an evil inclination. So he can think that he's what? A tzaddik. It tells you, no. You should think of yourself like what? Like you're a Rasha. Because there's no guarantee that you killed it. It might be just what? Just sleeping. That's what it says. So now it says, ובזה יובן כפל לשון השבועה, תהי צדיק ואל תהי רשע. We also need to understand, if I tell you to be righteous, obviously you're not allowed to be evil. You don't need both. Why does it say both? If I tell you be righteous, obviously you're not allowed to be evil. דלכאורה תמוה, it says it's not understood. כי מאחר שמשביעים אותו תהי צדיק, once you told the person be righteous, למה צריכים להשביע עוד שלא יהיה רשע? You don't need to give him another oath not to be evil. Be righteous is enough. So it says why? So we just discussed it. אלא משום שאין כל אדם זוכה להיות צדיק. Because the oath that they gave you, be righteous, not every person can be righteous. Who can be righteous? People who kill their evil inclination. If you didn't kill your evil inclination, then are you righteous? Not. And I cannot command you not to be righteous.
But it doesn't mean that I'm Rasha.
Wait. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So it says, I cannot command you to be righteous. You're not a righteous. ואין לאדם המשפט הבחירה בזה כל כך. And then it says also, if you don't enjoy godliness, you don't enjoy godliness. It's not your choice so much if you can enjoy God or not. Some people don't have even inclination. They love to study. Some people love women. What are you going to do? You were born a creature that loves wine, and somebody else was born a creature that loves to study Kabbalah. So maybe he can be righteous. The guy who was born loving wine, for him it's harder to be righteous. What do you want from him? להתענג על השם באמת. To the guy who was born loving godliness, he can love godliness, to really enjoy God. ושיהיה הרע מאוס ממש באמת. By him, he hates wine. Why does he hate wine? Because it takes him away from Torah. And he loves Torah, he loves studying to such an extent that he hates everything else.
I can say he was born like that.
Or he was born like it. Very good. It's not up to him. That's why, because not everybody can become a tzaddik, immediately they give him a second oath. Says, we know that not everybody can become a tzaddik, but at least you don't want to become a tzaddik. That doesn't mean you're allowed now to go and do whatever you want in this world. What are you supposed to be? You're not allowed to be evil. What does it mean you're not allowed to be evil? What does that mean? You have to be what?
Benoni.
You have to be a Benoni. Because if you are evil, you're evil. So it says, if you can't be righteous, I won't hold it against you. But at least don't ever dare to what? To be a Rasha. To go against me? That's a very big no-no. Yeah. So that's לא תהיה רשע. אל תהיה רשע על כל פנים. שבזה, and over here, that's up to you. You're going to decide. If you can decide when the Zar is next to you, you can decide when God is next to you. שבזה משפט הבחירה והרשות נתונה לכל אדם. Over here, the permission is given to every person. למשול ברוח תאוותו שבליבו. I didn't tell you to love me. Don't love me. Just put on tefillin.
Just do what I tell you.
That's right. ולכבוש יצרו, it says go against your evil inclination. That's what I told you. You want to do something you're not supposed to, don't do it. שלא יהיה רשע אפילו שעה אחת כל ימיו. Don't ever go against me, God says, even for 1 second, your entire nation. בין בחינת סור מרע, בין בחינת ועשה טוב. Whether it's talking about do not steal, whether it's talking about doing a commandment. You should always listen to what I tell you to do. And now we're going to go even deeper. והעניין הוא, and the matter is, דהנה אמרו רבותינו ז"ל, and here comes the crux. The words, if you notice, if you learn Tanya is like the Sefer Torah. It doesn't have vowels. And the reason why it doesn't have vowels is the same reason that the Torah doesn't have vowels. Because you can read the same word many ways. The word mashbi'im, you give him an oath, can also be read masbi'in. You satiate, you give him food, you give him energy. Savea, you give him energy. You enhance energies. Let's explain this. It says when a man and a woman want to start a family, it says they get married. And they have a marriage ceremony. It says, why are they getting married? What's the marriage? The marriage is an oath. They take an oath. What's the oath?
To take them out from the clan.
Yeah, but why do you need to make an oath? You love each other, live together. Forget about, let's say there's no God in the world. Two people. Yeah?
Oh.
Two people in the world today want to get married. Right? What do they want to get married for? Live together, have a nice life. When you don't like each other, separate. What's the idea of an oath? You know what's the idea of an oath?
When you're going to be old, you know now everything is good, but the oath is for you know that you're going to get old, and you know that it's not going to be the same. You still now tell her, I will stay with you.
Very good. The oath gives you the power to stick to it no matter what.
Yeah.
It gives you the power to stick to it. They must be אותך. It gives you the energy to stick to it no matter what. I know that times now are good, but you know what? I know that the times are not always going to be good. We're making an oath that even in bad times, there's kids, there's things, we're going to stay together no matter what. That's what the oath does. So that's משביעים אותו, תהי צדיק ואל תהי רשע. We give him an oath, be righteous and don't be evil. דלפני ירידת הנשמה בגוף, before the neshama comes down in this body, משביעים את הנשמה, you give it an oath. ופירוש משביעים מהנוגעים, משביעים, מלשון סובה. Very good. God is giving extra power to the soul. That what? Let's see. שמשביעים אותו, אז we give him כוחות, בכוחות שלא בערך מהכוחות שהיו לפני זה. You give him extra powers that will be able to stand all the test. Moshe just asked me, but Rabbi, how am I going to do this? This is too difficult. So it says God gives you the power to do it. God, when you before that, gives you the power to do it. כי בכדי שיוכל האדם למלאות תוכן השבועה דהי צדיק בקיום מצוות, ואל תהי רשע שלא יעבור את הדרך וכו', so that a person can become righteous, or if not a righteous, at least have the power not to go against God. He needs extra power, because ordinary, nobody's going to be able to do that. It says, don't worry, God is giving you powers to do it. And where's the power come? Before the neshama comes down, God fed him so much, gave him so much food, so much energy, that it will last you for your entire lifetime, that you can go through life and do it. Up to here, good. Now comes the Rebbe, like the Rebbe comes every time. You know what we're doing is going to say, guys, everything I said up to now cannot be. Doesn't make sense. Like we always say it. So let's see. This is the Rebbe. And the Rebbe is going to ask the question. You know, when the Rebbe asks a question, we think we ask the question strong. He asks it 100 times stronger than we can think. He's going to ask Moshe's question, but much stronger than what you asked, Moshe. בהתחלת ספר התניא, the Rebbe says in the beginning of the book of Tanya, we just read, we just explained. משביעים אותו תהי צדיק, we give him an oath, be righteous. ולאחרי אריכות הביאור בפרטי הדרקות, לצדיק ובינוני, after we understand, now everybody understand what's a tzaddik, everybody understand what's a בינוני, עד להפלאת מעלת הבינוני, until we understand, you know what a בינוני? A בינוני is a person שלא עבר עבירה מימיו, that never transgressed. ולא יעבור לעולם. And not only never transgress, he will never transgress in the future. He's somebody on a level that doesn't sin. He doesn't sin. Not only doesn't sin. So, I didn't eat pig for the... a person can say, I didn't eat pig, I ate kosher for the past 20 years. Yeah? If you ask a person, can you see possibility that you're not going to eat not kosher? It says, I can't. It's impossible. A religious person cannot see such a thing. So very good, very good. You over here, you're a Benoni. How about not talking Lashon Hara? Can you see yourself not talking Lashon Hara the next year? The guy will stop and says, and look at the question. It's a funny question. If I ask him, can you see yourself not talking Lashon Hara for the next 5 minutes? He will tell you yes. If I ask you, can you see it for the next 10 minutes? He will tell you yes. If I ask you for the 2 weeks, he's going to start being shaky. If you're asking for 1 year, he says, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way. It's not that there's no way. The truth is there is a way. He's not willing to put what? The energy in it. He says, it's too hard. What am I, crazy? Same thing with learning. I'm going to ask you, can you see yourself learning for the next 2 minutes? Learning Torah. Next 2 minutes, you can see. Next 5 minutes, you can see. Next 3 hours, so if you can't see yourself doing something, it means you're not a Benoni. A Benoni can never see himself not doing it. He says, yeah, I don't want to do it, but I'm always going to do it. That's a Benoni. Just look at the level. Look at the level. מבואר המשך המאמר, over there it explains, דמשביעים אותו, that you take an oath, he takes an oath, היה בעיניך כרשע. It says, you don't tell him to be like an evil person. It says you should always consider yourself like you're evil. What do you mean? Like you still have the evil inclination. ולא רשע ממש. Not that you're actually doing sins. But you should always be aware that what? That the evil inclination is waiting for you. Because if you think you're a tzaddik, you're not going to be on guard. And you're not going to be on guard, you know what's going to be? He's going to wake up and then you're done. He's going to catch you somewhere. אלא שיחזיק עצמו בינוני. What does it ask him? You ask from the person, if you can't be a tzaddik, at least you know what you should be? A Benoni. In other words, don't ever be a rasha. Be on the level that you never sin. כלומר, לא דרגת צדיק. We're not asking you to be a righteous person. שאין כל אדם זוכה להיות צדיק. Because not every person merits to become righteous. ואין לאדם משפט הבחירה בזה כל כך. And you don't have so much choice. אלא דרגת בינוני. We're only asking you to be a בינוני. שמידת הבינוני היא מידת כל אדם, because this is every person can achieve it, ואחריה כל אדם ימשוך, and after this level everybody should go, שכל אדם יכול להיות בינוני בכל עת ובכל שעה. There's never a time in your life that you cannot become a בינוני. Can you learn for the next 3 minutes? That's it, you're a בינוני. What do you want from me? The question is, you're not willing to take upon yourself to learn for the next 3 hours. That's it. That's what it is.
Why don't they say, ראה עצמך כבינוני? Why do you have to get the Russia involved in it all?
Because
you don't want to be a Russia, but why don't you tell me what to do? Be a בינוני.
The Sur Mira is easier. All I ask you is not to do. It's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Absolutely.
It's easier. What am I asking you? I'm asking you to love me like a Beinoni. I'll ask you, just don't do this. That's all I ask you. Don't touch this. That's all. It's much easier as a command to give. Okay? And now the Rebbe comes and asks Moshe's question. ואינו מובן. And we don't understand. כיצד מתאים עניין זה עם המציאות בפועל? It says, what is this? Chabad, Hasidus. It says, what is it, a joke? We put it in the books and we don't mean what we're saying? What do you think? That the Alter Rebbe just wrote it in the book, he says, don't take it seriously. Because between me and you, we know, who's going to become a Beinoni? Nobody's going to become a Beinoni. כפי שידע איניש בנפשי. It says, like Moshe tells me, Rabbi, I know who I am. What do you want from me? I know what's going over here. I know myself. What, am I going to go home now and learn Torah the entire night? And then go to sleep and wake up in the morning thinking about God immediately? No. I'm going to have a nice meal. I'm going to relax a little bit. Open up the internet. Maybe look what happens in the news. Yeah, that's what people do. Even when they learn Torah, they look at YouTubes in the Torah. There's a YouTube and they listen to a class. And then they see another interesting YouTube. They jump. Who doesn't do that, right? And it says, and I'll give you a proof, the Rebbe says, from somebody who we look up to. Who's the person we look up to? כידוע הפתגם של רבי הלל מפריץ'. Rabbi Hillel מפריץ' was one of the greatest Hasidim we ever had. He says, this person was a big Talmid Chacham in the time of the Magid, in the time of the Alter Rebbe. Yeah, one of the biggest. When he read the Tanya, the first time after he read the Tanya, he says, until today, he says, until I read the Tanya, I thought that I'm a tzaddik. Now, he says, Halevai Beinoni. He says, I wish that I will be a Beinoni. So he says, and this is who? Rabbi Hillel Miparich saying that he's never going to attain what?
But why would it say Halevai Beinoni if he doesn't sin?
Because there's levels also in a Beinoni.
Oh.
Yeah? So he thought that, for example, a Beinoni learns Torah, he says all the time. So Rabbi Hillel Miparich probably learned Torah the entire time. That didn't fail. The question is, did he give 100% the entire time? If he didn't give 100% the entire time, I'm a Rasha. He's on a Beinoni. I'm not doing what God said. If I didn't do a mitzvah the entire time, the way I'm supposed to do the mitzvah, I could have done better. I'm not a Beinoni. So there's levels to that. But that doesn't matter. When he says Halevai Beinoni, it's true. It's true. He wasn't a tzaddik. In other words, in his mind, he wasn't a tzaddik. Okay? So we need to understand, what is it just saying to become a Beinoni? It's just a saying that the Alter Rebbe wants us to say it, and actually, don't take it seriously because you're never going to become one. Is that what it is? So the Rebbe actually gives an explanation. It's one of the most beautiful explanations. By the way, this explanation is only from the Rebbe. The question existed until the Rebbe. Until the Rebbe. Before the Rebbe,
there was no book like this.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about our Rebbe, not the Alter Rebbe. The question existed until the Rebbe. This question was a strong question. Many people tackled it. A lot of people tried to. The Rebbe gives, it's one of those most beautiful things. It's very deep, but when you see it, it opens up your eyes to this whole thing. So let's look inside. וההסברה בזה, and the understanding in this. על פי מה שכתב הרמב"ם, so in order to understand this, we need to, the Rebbe brings a proof from halacha. He says, I don't understand you guys. It says in halacha, the word mashbi'im oto, the Rambam explained what it is. If you open up a book in your life, and you actually read what the Rambam says, the Rambam answers a question. He says, where does the Rambam answers the question? It says, כשמשביעים הדיינים את הנשבע, it says, when the judges make you take an oath, they tell him, אומרים לו, לא על דעתך אנו משביעים אותך, אלא על דעתנו. It says, we're not giving you an oath according to what you're thinking, we're giving you an oath according to what I'm thinking. We're thinking. Let me explain what it means. It says, when a person comes and takes an oath, at that time, it was one of the most taboos things that you can think of. You're holding a Sefer Torah in your hand, a holy object, and people did not lie. When they held a Sefer Torah in their hands, especially there was no liars. Today maybe you can find some people who are not, but we're talking about a religious person. At that time, he would hold the Sefer Torah, he would take an oath. You can be truth, he don't lie. But you know what he can do? In his mind, he can still lie. It says how? Imagine Bill Clinton. Let's take Bill Clinton for example. And the judges ask Bill Clinton, the question, you and Monica, did you guys do anything? And Bill Clinton holds the Sefer Torah in his hand and he says, I have never slept with that woman. Because in his mind he's thinking, I'm not lying, because we didn't sleep the whole night. We were busy doing other things. We did not sleep. So that's why the judges tell him, you should know, when you give the oath, it's what we're thinking, not what you're thinking. You're taking an oath, what's in our mind, not what's on your mind. Don't think that you can manipulate the words. Don't think that you can say whatever you want and it's going to be good.
In his brain.
That's right. In your brain you can say, I can say these words and I can think differently. For example, I took an oath, I'm not going to eat meat. But in my mind I will think I'm not going to eat meat today. Or I'm not going to eat meat of a chazel. Or zeu. No. If al da'atenu, it says on our mind you're getting married. On our mind you're doing it. That's the idea. And this is the halacha where? In the Rambam. So let's continue. And it gives the source over there. So it says, Ki iten ish el re'eu chamor. It says, I give to Aryeh a donkey, or shor oseh, or I give you a sheep, or a bull, v'chol be'ema lishmor. I said, Aryeh, do me a favor, guard it. I'm not going to pay you for it, but guard it. So if something happened, the animal died at night, it's not your fault. So it says, what do? Umet o nishba en roeh, and you wake up in the morning and says, look, I took care of your animal. He died, I have no idea how he died, but I didn't do anything wrong. I fed it, I was everything right. So it's, what does it say? Shvuat Hashem tiye ben shneim. It says, they tell Aryeh, make an oath that you didn't do anything, that you took care of it properly, and then no problem. You don't have to pay Rami back.
I didn't have to pay anyway because you didn't. I wasn't paid shomer.
Yeah, but if you did something wrong,
then I have to pay.
If you left the gate open, it train and a truck there, then you have to pay.
Even though if I was shomer chinam?
Yeah. You were negligent. For negligence, you pay. Im lo shalach yado b'melechet re'eu, you have to make an oath that you didn't do anything evil in the donkey, in the thing. Velakach ba'alav. Velo yeshalem, and I'm going to take the carcass, and you don't have to pay me anything. The carcass belongs to me, you don't have to pay me anything. Okay. So lefichach kshemashbim. But when you make an oath, you say, I'm going to make an oath. Yeah, the oath is that I didn't open the gate. I didn't open the gate, but I leaned against it, and it opened by itself. Or something like this, or whatever it is in your mind. Yeah. לפיכך, כשמשביעים הדיינים את הנשבע, אומרים לו, so when the dayanim, the judges, are going to give you the oath, they're going to say, לא על דעתך אנו משביעים אותך, אלא על דעתנו. You're taking the oath according to us, not just you remember, what we're thinking works, not what you think. Now you're willing to make the oath, you're holding Sefer Torah in your hand, on our da'at. So now it's a different ballgame. Different ballgame. So let's continue. כאשר בית דין. So now look at what's happening over here. Who's giving the oath over here? Oh, the baby is getting born, and who's giving the oath? Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Malachim, whatever. Yeah. The oath is up in heavens. So according to whose decision are you giving the oath?
To heaven.
To the heavens decision.
Not
כאש-
here.
כאשר בית דין של מעלה משביעים אותו, when the heavenly court gives him an oath, לפני צאתו לאוויר העולם, before he comes down here into this world, תהיה צדיק ואל תהיה רשע, don't be a בינוני, they told him be בינוני, אין שבועה זו על דת האדם. It says, Moshe tells me, but Rabbi, I can't. I tell Moshe, it's not up to you. What do you mean you can't? You know it's up to whom? Who says you can?
בית דין של מה?
בית דין של... Not only do they say you can,
And they משביעים אותך.
and משביעים.
משביעים.
All of the things, not only they say you can, they give you an oath, they make you give you the strength, and they give you the energy. And I don't care now what's in your mind. You're going to tell me, I can't. I don't care what you're saying. Because they have in mind that you can, and not only that you can, that we're giving you the energy to. Let's continue. דלמטה אלא על דת בית דין של מעלה. We're going according to the heavenly court over here. ומצד הדת דבן של מעלה הרי. Now the Rebbe explains. What does it mean? So who cares? Okay, so it's the heavenly courts. So how does that change things? So it says there's many things it changes. Let's look like. בית דין של מעלה יודע מעמדו ומצבו של האדם בעת עשיית המצווה. It says the בית דין up there in heavens put you in every situation in your life. And if they put you there, what does it mean?
They know you can succeed.
They know that you can succeed. You can't come and tell them, it's too hard. They say, yeah, it is very hard, it's true. But you know what? Everything, all the energies are exact. If we put you there, we gave you the energy. Must be it. We gave you the energy to succeed. Don't come and tell me it's hard. We know it's hard. We didn't do it easy. Okay. There's no easy here. But you can do it. או בעת שנכשל חס ושלום בעניין של חטא, or at times that your person does make a sin, God forbid, הקשיים המיוחדים שלו. It's true that they can say, I didn't have a choice. Look, I have such an evil desire in me. What do you want from me? They know exactly to every level, exactly how hard it is for you, exactly to the minute level. And by the way, they give you points no matter what, as we're going to see soon. What does it mean? If a person is a thief, some people are kleptomaniacs, they need to steal. They have a desire to steal no matter what. They can't help themselves. They have to steal. And if this guy doesn't steal 3 times in a day, and he stopped himself, they look at it, and he succeeded to be a Beinoni in those 3 times. The only problem is, he didn't do it all the times. Not that he can't. And by the way, it depends on how hard it is for him. If it was very, very, very hard, up there in court, in the heavens, we're going to see soon, there's leeways. They're not going to give him a severe punishment as you think, because the test was so big. They know the level of the test. Let's continue. ובמילא ייתכן שמצווה אחת. So it's possible that he's going to be putting on tefillin, he's able to put on tefillin once a week he only does it, or once a year. אפילו מצווה קלה, even if it was an easy mitzvah. What's so difficult putting on tefillin? Everybody does it all the time. You can put on tefillin. For him it was difficult. נחשבת אצלו לריבוי גדול. By him, God looks at it as a big thing. עולם ומלואה. What kind of big thing? Like, he just saved a life. שלא בערך לגבי כמה עניינים בלתי רצויים, הדרך מה שכתב הרמב"ם. And according to what the Rambam says, you look at it like we're not going to make the measurements. You know who makes the measurements? God. What does the Rambam write? Shikul ze. The Rambam explains this. He says these calculations, when you pass a sin, when you don't sin, or when you do sin, who decides how bad it is? Who decides how bad? אינו לפי מניין הזכויות והעוונות. We don't count you stole 15 times and you didn't steal once. So therefore you're an evil person. That's not how we do it. אלא לפי גודלם. It's how difficult was it that one time that you didn't steal could have been more difficult than anything else that anybody else in the world is doing. And therefore we're going to reward you approximately according to that. So in other words, there can be a religious person, he never stole in his life, but he never fought against not stealing on anything like you did. Because you had to fight in such a way, the reward is going to be much more than his. And he's a religious person, and this guy is a nobody. He's still going to get much more reward, because God is making a calculation. יש זכות שהיא נגד כמה עוונות, and their merit, one merit that is against many sins, מצד איכות המצווה, because this commandment for that person was so difficult. או מצד מעמדו ומצבו של האדם, or because the level of the person was such a low level, and he was still able to do it, or not to do it, whatever it is. הוא מסיים, and the Rambam finish it, ואין שוקלים אלא בדעתו של כל דעות. The only one who judges up in the heavenly court is God. הוא היודע אך הולכים הזכור כנגד זו. He knows who gets the merit and who doesn't.
So what's the advantage you have for the משביעים אותך למעלה?
Oh, very good question. Because you see, down here in this world, if משביעים אותך למטה, if it's in this world, the judge doesn't care how difficult it was. You sinned, death penalty. You sinned, pay the guy. Up there, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. It's everything is in the heavenly court over there. Wow. Down here, the judge doesn't care. Yeah. I don't. Why you punched him in the nose? He really made me mad. Really, but judge, it wasn't just he didn't just this. He really says, I don't care really or not really. You're not supposed to punch somebody in the face. What do you mean really? You punch somebody in the face and you really sorry? That doesn't matter. The penalty is the same. Be sorry afterwards. Up there in heaven, you really sorry? It gets erased. Okay. There's no more. That's the big completely ball game. Heaven is a different court. It's not the court down here. Down here, there's no forgiveness.
No archive.
לא מה?
ארכיב.
מה זה ארכיב?
Record.
There's no record, no archive, that's right.
Oh,
archive. There's no archive, there's no records. Up there, once you did tshuva, God says, and not only, even if you didn't do tshuva, God says it was very difficult for you. He says, I understand. Over here, no matter what, you killed the person. What understand? There's no, who understand? No understand. The person is not here. You stole his money. Give him the money back. What do I care? Yeah, different completely. That's the first difference. The second difference, בית דין של מעלה יודע, the בית דין of up knows שכאשר יהודי נכשל חס ושלום, that when a Jew fails, God forbid, בעניין בלתי רצוי, he does something which he shouldn't be doing, he knows there's one more thing. He knows אין זה אלא לפי שעה בלבד. He says there's no Jew that is completely evil. There's no such thing as evil. In other words, if you really ask that Jew, if you really go deep into his soul and says, you wanted to do it? He'll be sorry. Everybody doesn't really want it there. In other words, and if it's in the heavenly court, he can do what? He can do tshuva. ובוודאי שסופו לעשות tshuva. And it says, and for sure, in the end, he's going to do tshuva. כמו שכתוב, like it is written, לא יידח ממנו יידח. It says it will never be removed from him. No Jew will ever stay away from God. שאז נהפכים אפילו אז not לזכויות. And when he does tshuva, all the sins are going to turn into merit. Because we're not in Tanya, in our own time. And the most important thing, ג' בית דין של מעלה יודע, the בית דין of up there, they know, שגם באותו שעה שנכשל חס ושלום, that even during the sin, at the time of the sin, בעניין בלתי רצוי, when a person was doing something he wasn't supposed to do, אין זה מצד רצונו האמיתי. If you would have asked him, do you want to be here? Do you want to do it? He says, the truth is, I don't want to do it. So he says, why you do it? He says, I'm weak. I'm the even inclination. Every guy, after he does the wrong things, afterwards tells himself, what an idiot. What an idiot. But at the time, I'm too weak. He says, I don't really want to do it. I just don't have the what? The power, the strength. כפסק דין הרמב"ם, שכל אחד ואחד מישראל רוצה לעשות כל המצוות, יתרחק מן העבירות ויצרו שתקפות. And now the Rebbe says, and you know who tells you you can't stand with, you can do it? It says, this is your evil inclination telling you don't have the power. It says, the truth is that
You have the power.
you have the power. But your evil inclination comes to you and it tells you, Rami, Moshe, Arya, you don't have it, you're too weak, you can't do it. It is impossible. The test is too big. I'm never ever going to be able to do this. I can't do that. It says, what do you want from me? I'm only a human being. It says, if you know the reality that who gave the oath, the heavenly court, and they know everything, and they gave you the power, once you know the truth, that's going to give you the power to really be a Beinoni. It's not a joke when he says you can really be a Beinoni. It's not something that we're just saying it. You really can become. God knows you can, the heavenly court you can, they gave you the power, and it only depends on whom? On you. ומכיוון שכן, and that's why, הרי השבועה תהי צדיק ואל תהי רשע. So when it tells you be righteous and not be evil, היא מלכתחילה על יסוד הידיעה דכל נזכר לעיל. Everybody knows that you do have the power. ובמילא, גם כאשר דנים את האדם לוקחים בחשבון. So when the heavenly court judges the person, they take into calculation כל הנזכר לעיל, everything that we discussed. נוסף לכך שגם הדין עצמו הוא באופן של חסד ביחס לבית דין של מטה. Besides the fact, they're judging you according to, they say, wow, he almost did it. He says, we know how difficult it was for him. We know, we gave him the thing. But the evil inclination fooled him to say that he can't. But next time we're going to get him. We're going to show him. Just learn a little bit more. Try a little bit more. And you'll see that you'll be able to what? To become a Beinoni. And you know what? Because you sinned now, next time you will be able to become a Beinoni. Because you will have extra powers. שלכן, בנוגע לבית דין של מעלה, מועילה תשובה. And like we said, when it comes to the heavenly court, one can do תשובה. מה שאין כן בנוגע לבית דין של מטה, but when it comes to the court down here, the תשובה is too late sometimes. ולכן, גם כאשר מצד החשבון צדק, שעושה בנפשו מגיע למסקנה, so the person stops one himself, says, just 1 second, am I a Beinoni? And then he says, Rabbi Hillel Miparich says what? Halevai Beinoni. So then for sure, I'm not a Beinoni. Do you know why we say it? Why do we say it to ourselves? Because you know what it means? It means I don't need to try now. We give ourselves an excuse. We give ourselves a way out. We give ourselves an excuse not to go and fight.
Now you see that you can.
Oh.
You got the power, you got
and you don't have no excuse. Just the knowledge. Just the knowledge that it's there. That it's there. Now you don't have the excuse. Go and fight. You can give the excuses later. Now you know what you need to do now? The next 5 minutes I'm asking you to do? The next 5 minutes, your job is to go and fight. And if you see, if I ask you again, every 5 minutes of your life, can you do a Beinoni for the next 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes you can do it.
Maybe
you
yes.
can do it for 5 minutes.
and therefore, it's not that you can't do it. It says you can do it. You know what? You give up. In the beginning, you said to yourself, you know what? I'm never going to get it. Why? Not because you can't.
Because your Yetzer is telling you.
Oh, because the evil inclination is telling you, don't even try. Because if you try, it's too hard work. שעושה בנפשו מגיע למסקנה, he comes to the conclusion, שהלוואי שהיה בדרגת בינוני, that he wishes to become in the level of the בינוני, הרי בידעו, so now, after you know, שהשביעו מלכתחילה. So first of all, who gave you the oath? They gave you the oath. And the reality that of how you see yourself, but they say, Rebbe, you say, I'm looking at myself and I know who I am. You want to talk? Says nobody cares how you see yourself.
No,
you know.
right.
Oh, we're going according to their thinking. Their thinking that they can do it. Who should I trust? Should I trust Moshe or should I trust God? Moshe tells me he can't do it. God says he can't do it. Who's right?
God.
So why are you telling me you can't do it? Oh, very good. Very good. That's exactly what the Rebbe says. It's not that you can't be a Beinoni. Of course you can. You're thinking to yourself, wow, to be a Beinoni means I need to fight all the time. Come on, I don't feel like fighting all the time. It's easier not to fight. So what? But so you know what's the easiest way to become a Beinoni? I didn't ask you to be a Beinoni tomorrow. All I ask you to be a Beinoni is for when? The next 5 minutes. And in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you for another 5 minutes. If you take it in 5 minutes increments, you can say to yourself, and if 5 minutes is too long, make it 1 minute. Or if 1 minute is too long, make it for the next action. For the next action, you can be a Benoni. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
So why aren't you?
It's like,
Because you say to yourself, hey, what's the
Yes,
difference?
no,
It says,
but
what's the
I-
difference? It says, what's the difference? I'm going to sin later on anyway, so I might as well sin already now. That's what we tell ourselves. That's the problem. Now that you know that the reality is that God thinks that you can, not only thinks that you can, He gave you the power. And not only gave you the power, if you went wrong, it doesn't become worse. It becomes better. Because when you do tshuva, what happens? It completely erases and you can start anew. With the power of your learning, of what you've done until now. So that's why I say, now what's your excuse? Now you don't have an excuse anymore.
now is a different understanding of in a way of Benoni with the out of bed din shel mala. It's a different
It's a
game.
completely good. The Rebbe opened
It's a
over here.
different game,
He
yeah.
explained it in a completely different manner.
Beautiful.
Let's just finish it. הרי בידעו שהשביעו מלכתחילה הדת בית דין של מעלה. Now that you know that God is the one who makes the reality, and He says that we all can become a בינונים, ולא על דעתו, and even if you look at yourself and you truly think you can't, I don't care what you truly think. God say you can, and He gave you the power to. So what are you complaining? אז די החשבון צדק שמצד דעתו אינו מביא אותו למצב שירא לבבו ויעצה ולא יכול לעבוד השם שיחה וטוב לבב. It says, don't get discouraged that you fail all the time. On the contrary, what do you do? Why are you discouraged? Do tshuva, and then you know what you're going to be able to do? You're completely clear from God's way. And be a בינוני. ולא יוכל לעבוד השם בשמחה ובטוב לבב, אלא אדרבה. It says it will cause the opposite now. Don't become upset that I'm a loser. I tried for 55 years.
That's what
I'm trying
to people.
for 55 years. I'm trying to become somebody. I'm trying to become somebody, and I fail. And if a person is truthful to himself, he says, "Look, I'm a failure. Well, man, I'm never going to succeed." That's the truth. All of a sudden, when you see this, he says, "No, it is not the truth. The truth is that you are a Benoni. You just." And God gave you the power to pass all the tests. And if you do tshuva, it erases everything. All the sins are gone. It's how much now you can be happy. You can start tomorrow, wake up in the morning and says, you know how I can wake up tomorrow as the real Benoni. I can wake up tomorrow as the real Benoni and fight the fight every day of my life and win.
Start to think every 5 minutes to be a Benoni.
That's right. The whole world is different. שמוסיף בעבודתו מתוך שמחה וטוב לבב. He's going to add in his work from happiness and gladness of heart. כולל ובמיוחד תשובה בשמחה. And also, you know, some people do tshuva and they're crying. It says over here the tshuva is the happiest thing. It just cleared the page and it gave you the power to know that the truth is that what God thinks. God thinks is that I'm a Benoni. I don't want to admit it because I don't want to do His work. But now that I realize that I really am a Benoni and I did tshuva and decided to really tomorrow or the next 5 minutes to really become a Benoni, or to really to try, that's the idea. עד כדי כך שאפילו אם היה איזה עניין בלתי רצוי, even if I did something wrong until now, I can turn this something not good and turn it into good. כאמור, like we said, זדונות נעשו לו כזכויות. It says the evil deeds that we did, we can turn them all into merits. And the main idea with all this thing is, it says the older a religious person gets, reality sinks in. You know, when he's 14 years old, 16 years old, Mendel, he can see, you know what? I can work on myself, I can improve, I can become better, I can do this. But when people get to our age, religious people says, I worked on myself, come on. I know, what do you mean work on myself? I've been working on myself for 55 years, I know exactly what I'm never going to become a Beinoni. And so the Rebbe says, nobody asked you if you can become a Beinoni. What does God think? Does God think?
Explain to every Jew. I'm telling you,
To every Lubavitcher, what do you mean?
every Lubavitcher.
To every Lubavitcher who knows Tanya good, it needs to be explained.
It's a concept that give you oomph.
Not only
Suddenly you
oomph,
see how to do it.
it's all of a sudden the Rebbe gives you the blueprint. It says, and even if you failed, it's not being you. Don't get discouraged. We only ask you not to give up. All that this is, as long as you remember that God is in charge, God is running the show, everything is upstairs, you can erase everything and start anew. What are you discouraged about?
You put your
Start again, don't give up.
Non-stop.
And you failed, get up again, start again, don't give up. And you'll be able to do it. And by the way, God says, I didn't ask you to do it for 20 days. I asked you to do it 5 minutes, then another 5 minutes. And by the way, the more you will do it, the
easier it's going to be.
The easier it's going to become. Until you're going to be a person who might reach the level of, like Rabbi says, Alevai Benoni, because it will be, you won't even feel the evil inclination coming around and bothering you. It says you will want to do the commandments. You will run after the commandments like now we run after everything else.
Sure.
Chaim.